Hi, I'm Will, and welcome back to Will's Digitals, your home for everything Photoshop and composite art. Today we're going to create brushes. We're going to create brushes from scratch. We're going to create brushes from pictures. We're going to do all sorts of things with brushes. Everything you see here on the screen is created with a Photoshop brush. Brushes are very powerful. We use them all the time to paint on layer masks, and so we know them from that, but they're actually quite a powerful tool. You can turn almost anything into a brush. Really, the only limit is the max brush size, which is 5,000 pixels by 5,000 pixels in the newer versions of Photoshop. Way back in Photoshop 6 and before, I believe it's 2,500 by 2,500. We have our 5,000 by 5,000 pixel project open here. And the thing we need to make sure when making brushes is that the background can either be white or it can be transparent, but nothing else, or you're not going to get the kind of results you want. And I'll show you in a little bit what happens if you have a background that's not white or transparent. Okay, so what we're going to do is let's just start making snow. And we're just using a soft round brush, and I'm adjusting the size a little bit here. And we can even adjust the opacity a little so that some will appear smaller than others. I'm sorry, closer or farther away than others. So here we go. We'll just do this a little bit. Let's put a few more of these in here. Okay, there we go. Now all we have to do to turn what we're seeing here into a brush is go to the Edit menu and go down to Define Brush Preset. And it just wants you to name it. And we're going to call this our snow test. And now it even turned our current brush into the new brush. As you can see, let me move it around here. If we clear the background and now we've got black as our foreground color, you can see. Okay, so admittedly it looks like a whole bunch of dots on a piece of paper. So I tell you what, let's do. Let's go over to this picture and let's make it a little bit there we go. Instant snowstorm. No problem. That looks pretty good to me. So now let's make this a little bit more interesting and a little bit more random because we're making snow. We don't want it to be patterns all the time. So let's go to the brush settings, and just so you understand this one, brush tip shape, the spacing is how far apart the clicks would be if we were to click and hold. For instance, if we bring it out to like here, 1, 2, there, see? They're very far apart. Somehow I got rid of my background or my foreground layer. Okay, and then if we were to bring them in, they'd be closer together. So let's bring that in. But what I really want to show you is shape dynamics. Size jitter. If we bring that up, every time we click, it's going to change the size of our brush. And we'll give it a minimum diameter of 9%. And then angle jitter is going to randomly turn our brush. Roundness jitter is going to be puffy or unpuffy. So now if we go over here, let me get the brush settings out of the way. And now if we go over here and we start clicking, you notice you can actually see it happening every time. It gets bigger, smaller, and turns. And we could actually just hold it down. And there we go. Let's do one there. And the bottom. Okay, now it looks like she's in a snowstorm. And we could, if we wanted to, take this layer and make it just a little bit lighter of a snowstorm. We'll bring it down just a little bit. There we go. That looks pretty much like a snowstorm to me. We made a brush from scratch. We made snow from scratch. Now let's talk about making a brush from a picture. I have this picture of this hawk that I took in South Texas. I don't know how old this picture is, but what we're going to do, we can make a black and white silhouette so that it looks like it's way off in the distance. So what we're going to do, I like to use the object selection tool, which in Photoshop now is actually gotten really good. And then we're just going to go down here and we're going to select him. And we're going to get a layer mask. And now let's just move him up. There. Going to move him up. And now we have to, remember, we have to turn him into a silhouette. So I do a curves adjustment layer, and I just grab the box for the highlights. I bring it all the way down, and look at that. We have a silhouette. Now, just like we did with the snow, all we have to do, we go to Edit, Define Brush Preset, Hawk Test. And as it did before, it created our brush for us and set it active. So we're going to turn that to black. Let's go over to our picture we were working on. So we can put him there, and then we can go back to our brush settings here. And we're not going to do shape dynamics just yet, but let's go to tip shape. And let's have one flying around out there. And like that. Now, if you want them flying the other direction, you can't just point the other direction like this, because what you end up with is an upside down bird, which that won't do. But what we can do is if we put him on a new layer, put him there, let's make it where it's a little bit easier to see, like that. And then we go to our layer, and we hit Control T for free transform. And then we're going to go flip horizontal. And now our birds are flying the other way. So now we've got birds in the sky, and we can actually go in if we want and lower the opacity. That's the brush opacity. We can lower the opacity on that level, on that layer, and have them blend into the background a little bit more. There we go. That looks pretty good. See, it's very easy to work with brushes. Let's do one more thing. Let's say you wanted to sign this picture. So we'll make a new layer. Let me get to the top. And a new layer for the signature layer. But even with a nice crisp brush, let's go get just a general brush, a hard round. And trying to sign, as you can see, with a mouse especially, is pretty difficult. So we have a couple choices here. And the first is to use a tablet. So let me get my tablet, and I will tell you that my handwriting is atrocious. This is why the signature that goes on my pictures is not my actual signature. I had it made. Let's make it a little smaller. Okay, let's go back over to where we're creating brushes. Let me just bring my tablet over here, and we've got black as our foreground color. Let's set the opacity to 100%. And then let's say I want to sign everything as Bob V. There we go. Okay. Now let me put my tablet to the side and bring back my mouse. Okay. So you can write the signature with a tablet. You can write it on a white piece of paper with a black pen. Take a picture of it with your phone and then put it on your computer that has Photoshop on it and import it, and that will work just as well. So we've got our signature. So just like we did every other time, let's go to Edit, Define Brush Preset, Sig Test, and there we have it. So we can go back over to Oh, and let's remember, just because we have to create the brush in black and white doesn't mean we have to use it in black and white. Let's do kind of a dark orange for our signature. Okay, so now we just go down here. We've got opacity at 100%. And there we go. Maybe that's too small. Let's make the brush bigger. And there we go. But I tell you what, I almost forgot. I did tell you that I would show you. Let's clear this off. And we're going to get another brush. Let's go back to this one. Let's change our background color to this kind of goldish orange color. And then we'll do, now let's just make a shape. Kind of a square that's not really good. All right, now let's go make a brush out of it. And we're going to define the, and we're going to say square. Whoa. Get on the home row keys and say square. And now let's go back to the white. And I tell you what it's not going to do. It is not going to do the square in the color. Instead, what it does is our black is black. The color is some shade of gray that's now see-through. So if we do this, you can see through the light gray square area, and you can see what's on the layer underneath it. And just to prove, let's go over to Holly Belladonna, and we're really going to make it look ugly. But we're going to do this. So now you see we have some form of transparency within the gray area, and the black area is not transparent. The darker something is when you put it in a brush, the closer to being non-transparent it's going to be. The lighter it is going to be closer to fully transparent. And when I say light and dark, I'm talking about the luminosity, not the color. Blue or orange or whatever, if the luminosity is light, then it's going to be partially see-through. And if it's dark, it's going to be mostly not see-through. That should cover it though. That should give you a good start. I encourage you to start making your own brushes, get your own library of brushes that you've made for special things. Snow is easy to do. Lightning is a little more difficult, but if you can find good pictures, you can do it that way. I would also say that birds, wildlife, anything that's going to be off in the distance is easy. Mountains, clouds, especially doing clouds, if you lighten them up, opacity wise, if they become very transparent, you can make fog out of that. So there's all kinds of things you can do with brushes. And I highly encourage you to give it a shot and have a good time with it. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. So please like and subscribe. It does help the channel. And that's going to do it for today. Y'all have a great one. See you in the next video.